Okay, I'm going to go ahead and begin the recording. I don't have a whole lot of students here today, but today is September 23rd, 2019. It's 11 o'clock. This is the Monday scheduled lab period. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time today. I do want to go over some stuff. I'm grading the, let's see, what is this one? Module 5, this is chapter 3, so this is just the straight selects. This is not the table joins yet, and I wanted to go over some stuff that I'm seeing here happening. So hello, whoever that is. Hello, Amanda. Let's see, so I'm just going to cover some stuff here briefly. The first thing I want to make sure I do is I'm not quite there yet, but I want to make sure that we get this use AP underscore DB. That has to be in, well, okay, not that one, but every script has to say what database you're using. And you can change it actually mid-script. If you're taking something from one and putting it into another one, for example, you could say, okay, now I'm going to be using the Scratch database, and that is quite possible, but we will only be using one database. Either we're using the AP database or we're using the Scratch database, and from now on, most of the stuff is going to be in the AP database. So make sure you get that in there after today. I'm going to start, well, after stuff that's turned in, for stuff turned in after today, I'm going to take off if that's not there. Let's see, this particular one, to select the select star means select everything. So usually I put a space in there. It doesn't have to have it, but well, some of them do and some of them don't. So that's just select everything from vendors, and this one is correct. Now let's take a look at this one. We have to get these names correct. If we have those squiggly lines under the names, they have to work. Now, just because it's got a squiggly line under it doesn't always mean it's wrong. You select the query, and you say execute the query, and if it runs, it's okay. If it doesn't, then we got to figure out why. And the reason why is if I put, it says it's an invalid column name. Okay, how do I find out what the valid column names are? And this is an important point. I have to go up here. I have that information here, and we're going to use the graphical user interface some to get information. There's nothing wrong with it. I could get it through SQL. I believe that, let's see if I can remember how to do it. SCRIBE, describe. No, that's not turning blue. There is a command I can give SQL to where it will show me all of the names. But the easiest thing to do, and the thing that I usually do, is if I'm in the module here, the Server Management Studio, I'm going to go up to View. Go to View. Now, if it's already over here, don't. But I go to View, and I'm going to say Object Explorer. Now, that's this guy. Now, yours probably starts with him already over there. As I look up here into the Object Explorer, I have databases is the one I'm interested in. Security is where I find information about my logins, but mainly databases for right now. What is the name of our database that we're using? Well, we're using the AP underscore DB. Don't worry about these others. If you see ADVDB, that's the advanced class. So we're in the AP accounts payable database. And if I drop that guy down, so I'm in AP. One of the things that I find under him is tables. Okay, under tables. So under APDB, I can find tables, drop down the tables, and look for we're wanting to know about the vendors table. So we're going to go under the vendors table. There he is down there at the bottom. And I can open him out. This gives me all the names of the columns. So what's the name of the column? It's vendor contact L name, vendor contact F name. And this tells me what they are. They're varchar 50. I would not probably have used varchar 50 had they been mine, but I just used whatever they had. I can see the keys, the primary keys and the foreign keys, and the constraints on the table. There's the constraints. But the main thing I'm probably interested in is what is the primary key, and what is the rest of these things. Now, just because it says null does not mean that it can be null. A lot of them I have constrained against null. But it says that in the table itself it can be null. So what is this? We want the vendor first name, vendor contact first name. Okay. So I'm going to change this one to fix this. It would be vendor contact. Oops, well, contact F name. Next one would be vendor contact. Okay, I thought I had it there. Copy, paste, and I'm going to change this to L name. Vendor name is correct from vendor's order by. Vendor contact last. Now this this plus in here would be wrong. That plus says concatenate them. So even if I were to put that in there and get these guys right, it would try to put them both together. So vendor comma. We don't want that plus because that plus will try to concatenate vendor contact F name with vendor contact L name. So let's see, we probably want to order by last name and then first name. So this would be a correctly written query. Notice how he doesn't have any squiggly lines in him. Execute, and I get that correct. This one has some issues. Sometimes I'll close this down. I can either run him down this way or I can just completely close him, depending on how I'm doing. Let's see, this one says select invoice number, invoice total, and they're given it. By the way, I prefer if you would please not use these square brackets, even though you can, and even though they don't hurt anything. Using the square bracket, well, why bother typing them if they don't do anything for you? And the only time I really need them is when I have something in there, when I have a space, like my number. When I have a space in there, then I have to have the square brackets. But if I don't have a space, which I never should have, really, there's no reason for it, then I don't need those. Invoice total as total, that's correct. Payment total plus credit total as credits. Okay, now I'm not sure what this one was thinking. This one total. Payment total plus credit total. I think that this should be invoice total. Invoice total minus credits. So credits comes from over here. That should work. That should let me use that farther on down the line. I think that might be just a phantom error there. No. Why isn't it letting me do letting me use credits? Because let's see, I defined credits are on that line. Well, I guess I'll have to do it again. Lots of times it won't let you use these invoices that you're defining up there on the select line. It's real fussy about letting you use the aliases, the names that you have created up there. So invoice total minus payment total plus credit total as balance due. That is correct. Now again, we have the vendor last, vendor first issue. We have to give them the correct name. Invoice total as 10% plus. That's not going to let you use that percent sign. When you say 10%, you have to say 0.1 is the way we're going to say 10%. Now, balance due. There is no balance due anywhere in here, and even if we had it on this select line, we couldn't use it on the where line. So we're going to have to go get the balance due if we want to. So this is balance due, and we're going to have to copy balance due and put it down there. Remember what I said about using the balance due on the where line. We can't even use it on the if we had the where line here, even though we have it in the query named, we can't use it if it comes on the select line, because the select line is executed after the from. Actually, the from line is executed first, then the where line, and then finally last is the, well, not last, the select line after that, then comes the order by. So if I declare something on the select line, I can use it on the order by line. Again, in number 7, we have some problems with the names. And here are some name issues. Balance due. Balance due is not in invoices. It's we have to create it. And this where line, the interesting thing about this one, let me go ahead and do this one for you. Balance due, remember what is balance due? As balance due. And usually when it runs off the end of the page like that, what I do is I tab this guy once, bring him back under that one, so they're kind of even. It looks like they're together. Okay. Now I can't use this balance due thing down here on the where line. Again, I have to copy it. And I have to say invoice total minus, I have to do this again, so copy and paste is, my friend, is greater than 0, and payment due is null. This should be an or. Balance due, what is balance due? Balance due is that thing, copy and paste, equals 0, and payment date is not null. When I run this, I get a bunch of them. I get 112 rows. Now, what have I gotten here? I told you that in the assignment that, and I called your attention to this, by the way. Okay, come on, you, get back. What is this? Okay. Write a select statement that will return the invoice number, payment date, and balance due, just like number 3, for any invalid payment date. Okay, I'm asking you for invalid payment dates. Now, look what it says here. To be valid, payment date must be null if the balance due is greater than 0, and not null if the balance due is equal to 0. So let's go back. This guy, this is a valid payment, or this is a valid payment. These are 2 valid payments. These are valid payments. So when I execute him, I'm going to get 112 rows. There are 112 valid rows there. To get invalid rows, I need to put a not in here. And the simplest way to do that is just to tab him over, where not, open parentheses, end, close parentheses. So where it's not that. So where not. So this is the valid. Now, there's some other things I could have done to it, but this is the simplest. You just put parentheses around it, put a not in front of it. Now, when you execute this, you should get 2 lines. Okay. So what I'm looking for is in this one, when they're executed, I should see, I think it was 559 lines is the correct total. Should get some here. This number 7 is, number 4 has name problems on vendor last name, vendor first name, vendor contact L name, vendor contact F name. Fix those and it'll be right. Total, I think that should be invoice total. Invoice total minus payment total plus credit total. So we need to work that out and calculate that balance due. We've calculated it correctly up here. So it gets calculated the same way all the way. We will very seldom ever be able to use these aliases very often later in the query. Now, sometimes we can. For example, I can order by balance due. But if I declare an alias, if I select an alias, give it an alias on the select line, I will not be able to use that alias on either the from or the where line, which is really where I want to use them. But I can use them on the order by if I want to, because the order by comes last. Okay. Questions? Amanda, how you doing? How many people do I have with me?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. Well, I don't have a whole lot else there. I'm pausing the recording now. Okay, resuming recording. I want to announce the test 1 will be enabled on Wednesday. That will be 9/25. I will announce and give instructions on Wednesday, and then you will be able to take the test over the weekend. So it'll be enabled, I believe, on Wednesday. I believe I will probably leave it up until Monday. There will be a time limit from when you begin the test until when you end the test. But I try to give you plenty of time to find a time when you can take it. So what I want you to do is sit down and take it. I expect it will take you, I expect it to take you 2 hours, but I will allow more time than that. What I don't want you to do is take half of it and then quit and then come back and do another problem and then come back. So once you start it, finish it. Okay. And like I say, I expect to enable that test on Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. The practice test is out there. The practice test is enabled now. Well, I'll find that later. And I believe I see people taking it and turning it in. So you should do the practice test. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go back to silent again. Pausing.